Sell me this pen is one of those questions that frequently comes up in interviews for a variety of sales positions. Interviewer may ask this question to check your sales skills and qualification as a salesperson, but there are at least two dimensions, two different contexts where you can hear this question. First of all, in my opinion, no one who is professionally involved in sales and is serious about what he does shouldn't ask similar questions. People say there are no stupid questions, but even if the pen is just a symbol, the type of question you hear reveals not only the intentions, but also to a large extent the level of knowledge and professionalism. But let's leave it at this and let's get to the point. Why interviewers ask questions like this? There can be the number of reasons. To test your selling abilities, to learn how well you gather information, how you act under pressure, how creative you are, or because it's convinced it's a good question. Generally, it doesn't matter because there are no right or wrong answers. Like I said, there are many better questions to check someone's qualifications. So it's just about winning the sympathy of this specific interviewer who asked that question. And be sure that he knows best how you should sell this pen. So don't try to be too smart. The less you say, the better. Generally, the more you try to impress people with words, the most common you appear. Just avoid making basic mistakes and don't start to talk about the merits of the product. Professional sales consultants first ask questions to determine if they are dealing with the real buyer. Personally, I never sell anything to anyone if I see that my product doesn't meet my client's needs. Although it's possible and there are techniques to do so, you should build a long-term relationships when you deal with your clients. Ethics and your personal brand are the most important factors that will give you long-term success in sales. To sum up, you ask questions and you try to close only when you see that your product can solve your prospect problems, satisfy aspiration, ambition or desire. And of course, it is the answers you will get allow you to conduct such analysis. And now, the most important thing. After you determine if you are dealing with a real buyer by asking the right questions, you try to close the sale preferably as simple as you can. And you ask interviewer, sales manager, or anyone who asks you that question for feedback. If he likes how you approach this question and you honestly appreciate all advice you will hear. Like I said, it's all about him in that moment in time. You have to build a rapport with your interviewer using your social skills. He must have good feelings about you and believe you are an open-minded person who is worth to get this position. So it's not really about how brilliantly you approach this or similar question, but where you will gain the sympathy and trust of the interviewer. Just remember that people perceive as intelligent people who share the same beliefs, and they distance themselves from those who have a different opinion on fundamental matters. But as I said, this question has two dimensions and you can hear it in a different context. Someone may want to test your skills, someone who doesn't have enough authority to do so, as well as your client may want to take control of the conversation using similar questions. I remember exactly my first meeting with I was still very inexperienced and client often asked me, Mr. Pavel, please tell me why we should start cooperate with your company. What are the strengths of your offer and what we can gain? And I was doing what I shouldn't. I was beginning to qualify myself. I wanted to prove at all costs what a good company I represent and how good service and solution we can provide. And that's a big mistake. You may be surprised, but when you do that, you automatically step in the client games the way he wanted. It only shows that the person you are talking to has a stronger frame. In that moment, you act like a little monkey that dances in the way like someone plays. Don't let yourself to be manipulated, no matter if it's your future employer, client, or anyone else. As soon as you hear a question intended to put you in that position and you decide to answer, you are the one who show lower status. In order to avoid that, you should take control of the situation immediately. The easiest way to do that is to ask questions like, why do you want me to sell you this pen? Let me first check if this pen matches your needs. How well do you know the pen market? Why do you really need this pen? This way you are taking back control. You force someone to do what he expects of you. You show you have character, that you care about professional service in the first place, not your own commission. You know what you are doing, and what's the most important, you have many other options. You are not desperate salesperson. You don't really need to sell this pen because you have many other different clients, and you will still feel good about it. That way you show higher value, and paradoxically you gain a lot more in the eyes of your future client. My name is Pavel. I've built a network of contact and sales from scratch several times in my career in rubber market for companies operating in industrial sector. If you are looking for reliable information and sales advice, please subscribe and see you soon.